ends the game. Just remember that. So it's clear that some knowledge of the basic checkmates is crucial. So I'm going to take you through just a very few of them now. The first of these checkmates is extremely important because it crops up all the time in games between beginners. In practice, games between strong players end long before this position ever arises because, you know, strong players understand the other guy can do this with his eyes shut. However, we have to know the technique, and it's very easy. Basically, there are two golden rules to remember. The first golden rule is always bring your king towards the enemy king wherever possible. So, for instance, white to move would simply play king b2. Incidentally, the black king is going to be driven to the side of the board and mated there or in the corner. It's just a question of how this is done. Black sticks around in the centre. White can still bring his king up, highlighting the fact that the shortest route along the chessboard is along a diagonal. Black still sticks around in the centre. And now the second golden rule, bring up the king to cut off the enemy king, bring up the queen to cut off the enemy king as much as possible. So for instance, white's best move here, there are many moves, is queen f6. And now black's king is cut off from a huge amount of the board. In fact, black's already down to only one square. Well, that's three moves. Now white can't bring his king any closer. So white brings the queen up. No silly checks, and keep the queen within a knight's move of the enemy king. There we are. Now what is black to do? He's being driven backwards. Up comes the queen again. That's 5 moves, and after 5 moves we can see that the black king is driven to the back rank. Well, let's say black goes king e8. Okay, the very simplest move here is king d3, king d1. And now white has his choice of checkmates. He can go queen f1 checkmate, or he can go queen d2 checkmate. So it's really very simple. Points to remember: 1, bring up your king towards the enemy king wherever possible. Point number 2, systematically drive the king back by bringing your queen up, cutting off whole areas of the board as you do so. And watch out for stalemate at the end. If you just take play back, there are various ways for white to commit a howler in this position. For instance, look at this move, queen e3. This is exactly what you don't want to happen. This is stalemate. Black hasn't got a legal move, and his king is not in check. Instead of your hard-earned win, you're only going to end up with a draw. So this is the only danger, and I have seen it happen in young players' games. You know, they end up giving stalemate, and they can't really believe what's going on. They're still expecting to win a position like this. Well, as long as you exercise certain care in this position, you're going to win. And if you follow the techniques I've outlined, you're going to win in style. Well, having dealt with basic checkmate number 1, the lone queen, we now move to the lone rook, which again is very common in games between beginners or newcomers to chess, and you have to know how to do it. The idea is still the same. We're going to drive the black king towards the edge of the board and mate him there or in the corner. Same golden rules as before. Number 1, always bring up the king towards his king if you can. Black sticks around in the centre for as long as he can, and white brings the king up. Black sticks around. Okay, now white has to play a good rook move. And the best move that I can see in this position is rook e8. And the point of this is to stop the black king from venturing into half the board. The black king is now trapped in the same half of the board as the white king and has to give way, and this after only 3 moves. So as you can see, already we're understanding a bit about white's technique. He's not giving silly checks. A lot of beginners just start giving checks in this position. That's no plan to win the game. The plan is we're continually cutting down the number of squares that the black king has to move to. Alright, well, black's faced with an unenviable choice here. Let's say he goes king c5. Well, now, again, white moves in with a rook check. Black moves his king back to attack the rook, and now white moves the king up to protect the rook. So we've had now 5 moves. The black king is confined to a very small area of the board. Again, he has to give way, and white methodically makes progress with his rook. And now, after only 7 moves, the black king is down to 6 squares. He stays off the edge for as long as possible. We bring our king in. We can always bring our king in when we want to. He goes back to b7, and now we can drive him to the edge of the board with rook to b5 check. And there are two variations. If he goes king c8, he's playing into our hands. As you can see, the black king has only got one square here, as long as white makes any sort of neutral move. So just to show you the power of the rook, I'm going to move it all the way back to b1. King goes to d8, and now the rook comes down to b8, checkmate. After rook b5 check, obviously black's got a slightly better option in playing king a6, but after king to c6, once again black's goose is completely cooked. He's driven all the way back into the corner, and now it's child's play for white to checkmate. Once again, I'll show the power of the rook by moving my rook away. The king must go into the corner, and now white moves his rook across, checkmate. So it's a systematic technique. It takes longer than with the queen, but it's very easy to learn it. Point number 1, always move the king towards his king if you can. Point number 2, take away squares and ranks files from him using the rook. You'll drive him into the corner and finish him off in this manner.